Pacific Championships Week 3 is back, and we're here to talk about Kiwis v Tonga, and then the Kumuls up against the Fiji and Bati. Bit of a final preview there. I'm Longy, this is Burgz, and we're going to rip right into it. Now, Burgz, last week, obviously, you got your tip right on Samoa. Look, no one's here to hear about Samoa. No one wants to talk about it. Good on you with Samoa, but we're looking ahead, so I'm going to give you 10 seconds. You can brag away, talk it up, and let's get into this matchup.
Yep.
We're not hearing any of that sound, mate. Mate, there is no sound coming through there.
Come on, man. I got to crank out the Jey Uso music for my boys. Yeah, they got a massive win against Tonga last week. Absolutely pumped them 34-6. Mate, did we see that coming? I don't think so. But me being a loyal, faithful fan to my Samoan boys, I should have given them more credit. They came out swinging and really just blew the Tongan boys off the park. I'm not actually sure the Tongan boys are knowing what's hit them after that game, especially waiting 90 minutes for a fate that was inevitable. It had rain delays and big hits and HIAs and everything in between. But, the boys in blue, they got the job done.
Yeah, man. Look, Tonga, though, as someone who tipped Tonga myself, you obviously went Samoa, I went Tonga. Everyone let me know about it in the comments as well. But I'm struggling with that one. Like, they just didn't really seem to turn up to play. A lot of guys really were below what I expected. I thought we'd get a lot of Rob Toya ball. He had about 77 run meters there. In the forward pack here. Silva Havili had 3 meters from hooker. We needed a bit more spark there. Isaiah Yongi, he had a few moments where he looked all right, but overall it wasn't the best game for him in the halves. Look, he's a young guy, stepped into that role. It's a bit tricky. And Isaiah Katoa, I felt like he didn't really get the ball to his primary playmakers on the edges enough. So there's a few lessons to be learned for Tonga. They're going to come back this week against the Kiwis and see if they can do it. And I mean, you can't rule them out, right? Like, you look at the recent form here. They beat the Kiwis last time they played, 25-24, absolute cracker of a game. Massive comeback that game too. Nearly was the opposite result there. But you go back through history, and for Tonga, they obviously copped that pounding against Samoa last week. They lost to the Kangaroos in a close one. Beat the Kiwis, and then, were beaten well by the Kangaroos. Whereas for the Kiwis, it's been a pretty good run of form here. So beat Samoa last time out, smashed the Kumuls, lost to Tonga in that game, lost to Australia, and then beat Australia 30-0 a little while back too. So bit of mixed form coming into this one, but here are the team lists. Burgz, I'll let you go first here and read out this Kiwi team list to start us off.
Yeah, we got Chance at the back once again. A lot of people really praising his performance last week, but we'll see how he matches up against the Tongan team. On the wings, we have a bit of a change with Ronaldo Mulatalo out, with Seb Chris taking his spot and Jermaine Osako maintaining his position on the other wing. Tomoko and Casey McLean are the centers, with an unchanged halves pairing of Dylan Brown and Kieran Foran. And in my opinion, was that Dylan Brown last week that we saw out there? I'm not too sure because the guy that I saw last week, did he play for Para? I don't know, because he looked pretty good to me.
Mate, he was good. He was good. Scored the match winner as well. Contentious call on that one, I will say, in that game a couple of weeks back. But yeah, no, he was good. He was good. Look, Casey McLean as well. You got to shout that out. Like, he was unstoppable. And it's been a couple of weeks, so I think everyone's forgotten. But mate, the way he was running over everyone in front of him, I look at that and go, oh, I'm not sure if it's going to be Kola or Alamotti, but they've got a big task ahead of them in this game. And I would have thought Rob Toya would be the guy who'd stick on him. But they've gone with a change here. And for Tonga, I'll read this team list out because there are a couple of changes. Leo Hopewadi at fullback. On the wings, Dan Tupou and Sione Katoa keeps his spot. In the centers, Tolu Kola and Paul Alamotti comes into that center spot. And then at 5'8" and halfback, we are Isaiah Yongi and Isaiah Katoa. Now, looking at this Tonga side, we talked about it last week. We probably both would have had Paul Alamotti on the wing over Sione Katoa. No disrespect to Sione Katoa. He's done it for a long time. But Alamotti, in that finals run, he was pumping out 200, 300 meters a game. And I look at the stat line here for Tonga. I've got it in front of me here. The run meters for the back five. So Sione Katoa, 66 run meters in that game. Right, in a game where, RTS came through with about 300. Brian To'o had another 200 of his own. You got Sione Katoa there with 66. Dan Tupou, 130, which was okay. Leo Hopewadi, 139. Like, you want a bit more from him too. And then even the halves there, both around that 60, 50 meters mark. So, yeah, I just felt like the run meters were way down for Tonga statistically. And it felt like that when you watch the game too. Like, they just weren't getting anywhere. They weren't really penetrating. I don't know if it was guys not getting the ball where they wanted it. They just went up for the contest. I mean, look, you're obviously a big Samoa truther, but for Tonga, what do you think needs to change here, especially in the back line with the changes they've made?
Well, a bit of ticker for a start. They just look battered. They look, even in warm-ups, you could kind of tell they didn't want to, especially after that rain delay. You could just tell in the sheds they didn't want to go back out in the field and try and even. They were only 16 points down at that point as
Dude,
well.
They had a shot. They had a shot.
Yeah,
You had a long time there to think about it, and they're in it.
Yeah, just what I was seeing. I didn't like the body language. I didn't like the overall feel that they were giving off, or the energy that they were giving off. It just kind of suggested, oh, it's only an international game. And if they go into this one, like, for example, if they lose this game to the Kiwis, it'll be one win from their last 9 games as a top tier international side. And if they want to be taken seriously as a rugby league nation, then they got to, get some high profile wins together. That last win was against the Kiwis, but I almost feel like Samoa have surpassed them in just the way that they played last week. Samoa turned up expecting it to be like an almost Origin style clash, and they matched that energy right from ball one. And then Tonga kind of came out a bit lackadaisical. They didn't have that warm up game almost to kind of get the feel for each other. I expect them to be much better in this game, but they've only beaten the Kiwis by 6 points once and 1 point once. They need a big win in this game if they are to make the final, and I want that to happen. And I think this is one of their best chances. This Kiwi side isn't phenomenal, but I think I would love a change at fullback, a little bit more attacking spark. I think that's where they need to go. I think you're a fan of it too. Yeah. Kohler moving to fullback. I mean, he picked up a bit of an injury last week. We might see how he's kind of rolling with that. But the moment he got space last week, he scored. So, is that the formula?
Yeah, I mean, Kohler to fullback. I like Hopewadi, by the way. Like, keep him on the wing. And Qatar probably doesn't make my team. I would go Rob Toya at center. And you're maximizing speed, strength, explosiveness, and creativity across the park. Because, you're right. They didn't have it. They didn't have it last week. And we've seen that Kohler can do that. Look, he probably can't do it over a full season, but across a 4-game series, or 3 games for each team, right? He can definitely keep that going. I will say, though, they were shell-shocked last week. Like, you go to the forward packs here. Stefano Tokomanu went off after 4 minutes, and I feel like ever since he started talking smack, it's not been a good time for Stefano. Like, he's been in struggle street. But with him going down, look, we'll read these teams out. For Tonga, you've got Adam Fanua-Blake there, who's their captain, Havili at hooker, Felice Kafusi in the front row. Then the back row is Eli Katoa, Saul Wong, and Jason Taumalolo. Whereas for the Kiwis, you jump across and you have the mean combination of James Fisher-Harris and Moses Leota in the front row. Look, Phoenix Crossland is something they can attack there. And in the back row, Britton Nakora, Isaiah Papali'i can both score a try with anyone. And Joseph Tapane, who's an absolute machine at lock. So I look at these matchups here and I think, like, is the backline ascendancy on paper for Tonga enough to make up for what I think is a massive, massive plus for the Kiwis in the forward pack? I'm starting to look at this and I just don't see it. Like, I just don't see how they can overcome this.
Yeah, well, you got 3 of the best props in the game in Fisher Harris, Leota, and Tapane. I think that's just a combo that any team would be lucky to have. I do agree with you in saying that Phoenix Crossland is serviceable, but he's going to be a guy that's going to go out there and just his job is to make his tackles. And I think in this current Kiwis setup, it allows guys like Dylan Brown to really shine because he can play that second receiver role. All he has to do is use his footwork, and he's got, once again, like one of the all-time guys inside him in terms of Kieran Foran, who sets up games really well nowadays as a kind of older head out there. He's going to be playing like it's his last game, because it will be his last game if they lose by plenty. And you're right, like this Utoikamanu missing for Tonga is just, it's uninspiring, the team choices here. Like, I think if you want to match the energy of a team like Samoa last week, like they had such great energy, Felice Kafusi can do it and he can put on a shot, but he's getting older now. Same with Jason Taumalolo. He wasn't there last week. Maybe he's the spiritual leader that they need out there, because I certainly didn't see it last week. Can JT bring that bit of vintage JT? We've seen it in glimpses this year for the Cowboys. I just don't know. There's a lot of ifs with Tonga at this stage.
Yeah, I worry a bit about exactly what you're talking about there as well. Like, I'd be thinking Jason Taumalolo in the front row would be the play I'd be making there. A few less minutes for him. Let him play that stint there and then maybe run like a Saul Wong at lock or I don't know, something different. Like I look at last week's numbers. Felice Kafusi had 6 runs, 50 meters. He played about a half a game at lock. Mo Fotuaika, 8 runs, 70 meters there. You want way more than that from him. Vaumunga, who I love, by the way, for the Warriors, but 4 runs, 24 meters, right? So you're just not getting enough out of these guys. And I don't know, does that start at hooker? Is that really the thing they have to address there? Because for Seville Havili, he only had 3 meters running that game. So again, they just weren't generating much creatively.
No.
And you can talk about the halves and the spine all day, but if they're not generating the meters going forward, there's just no opportunities for these guys. So that's what worries me, man. Because then you go to the bench too, and it only gets worse. It only gets worse here. So for the Kiwis, it's Murray Martin's in there, great utility cover. But then Nafahu White, Aaron Clark, and Xavier Wilson, all guys who could comfortably step out there and rack up 150 meters for you, right?
Absolutely.
All guys who can score a try, like just absolute machines. And if there's anyone that goes down, Asofa Solomona and Scott Sorensen are waiting in the wings there too. So I reckon Tonga's going to be hoping Nas doesn't step in because I reckon he's a scary prospect for them. Whereas for Tonga, it's a good side, but it's a bit younger, right? Sonny Luke at hooker. Well, he's not that young, but Leke Halasima, Dimitri Vaumunga, Mo Fotuaika, and then Finafuyaki and Will Panasini on the extended bench there. So again, when I think about this being a middle forward battle, and you talked about that great 3 front rowers they've got in the starting side, the Kiwis, you then throw in Nafahu White, Aaron Clark, Xavier Wilson. I can't imagine Tonga holding up against that, considering how much they struggled last week. Like, I just don't see it happening. And I want it to happen, by the way. Like, I'd love for them to win, but they're going to have to win on attack. And we just didn't see that last week. So, again, I'm looking to you here, Burgz. You're a believer in the upset. How can they get it done? Because I'm sort of giving the reasons why I think the Kiwis might win here. But how can Tonga get this done? Like, what kind of game does it have to be? Is there a weather condition you're hoping for here? Or what are you thinking, mate?
No, I think weather condition in terms of rain or anything like that would only help the Kiwis more. I think they're very used to playing in that kind of weather. A lot of guys on that team play for the Warriors as well, so it only aids them in their venture. And this game is going to be in New Zealand, so it doesn't help on that front either.
Tonga will get support though. They'll get support.
Yeah, they will. But I think for the Tonga, they have to. I'm saying they've got to spread it because they have the advantage on the edges again. I think Casey McLean's been really good this year, but there has been moments, and he's quite young as well. And you go to Alamotti because Alamotti is actually going to be running at him in this game. Kohler will be running at Tomoko. Tomoko, we saw this year, he was actually one of the weaker spots for the Raiders. As much as Raiders fans probably don't want to admit that. That right-hand side defense for the Raiders. Yeah, right-hand side defense for the Raiders where he defends was not great. With him, whether it was Nicholson or Simi Sasangi, and then I think Stewart got put there as well. Like that edge was just not solid at all. And is he going to be paired with one of the best defensive wingers in the competition in Jermaine Asako? I think you can probably tell from sarcasm there that Jermaine Asako is not the best defender either. So, I mean, there is opportunity here for Tonga. I think they score more points than they did last week. Absolutely. And Isaiah Katoa has to get going in this game. And a week of playing together, I think we've seen has definitely impacted the way these teams have played in this Pacific Championships as well. So I think Tonga will definitely be better and they'll come up with a few different plans, but they've got to match intensity. And that's the big thing for me. They have to go out there. And I think with their spiritual leader in the guy that probably was a pioneer in representing Tonga and defecting away from representing one of the higher caliber nations in Jason Taumalolo, this could be his crowning achievement to get these guys up for a game like this on the international stage. I know JT's won comps before, but this could be one of his biggest achievements in his time as a Tongan representative. He's also the captain as well. So got to have a big game from JT.
Yeah, I mean, it could be his last, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, he makes the team as long as he wants to
It's got
make
to
the
be
team.
vintage
Basically.
JT. You know,
Yeah, he's at the back end, so leave it all out there, 100%. The other guy I want to talk about here too, Eli Katoa. So he was close to the top of the competition in run meters for the back row spot, and last week we had 9 runs for him.
Mm.
So again, I want to see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm talking about stats a lot, but they are the indicator. Like I want to see him getting a lot of early ball. You know, he did have a couple of offloads last week. He was trying to create a bit, but
I think they did bomb a couple of tries last week as well. Like when I think was it Halasima that broke through and they should have scored. I mean, you and I were texting during the game, and they definitely should have scored on one play. I think they made a clean line break down the left-hand side. I can't remember if it was Valmunga or Halasima. Might have been Halasima. And they just couldn't find the open man. They had about 3 different options, and somehow it got shut
it went
down.
behind. Yeah.
And I just was baffled as to how they didn't score. So they did bomb a few chances, and that kind of comes with execution and clunkiness, having not played a proper game together going into that game. So that's where I think Samoa benefited from their newness to the competition. But again, is it going to be enough to spur them 20 points plus past the Kiwis? Because that's what they need.
Yeah, mate. You talked about that too, that class. Age. We talked about this in the previews a couple of weeks ago. That age definitely came to show as well. Like they just hadn't had that experience in big games. One guy who was disrespected a bunch in the lead up to, Jerome Luai, right? But as one of the leaders of that team, you got Junior Bolo as well. Like he's a guy who's been disrespected.
How good
and they're guys who have been there before, and they've been around for a long time, and they've been in big games, and they revved the fuck up for that game. Whereas for Tonga, like I think they'll learn the lesson, but I don't know if they're going to learn it in time for this game, especially with that Kiwis forward pack. So, look, for me, if we go to tips, I'm taking the Kiwis to win this one. I'm looking for a much better performance from Tonga. I think they'll be right in this. I just think that middle forward set for the Kiwis is going to be too strong, and they're just going to beat the doors down. So I'll take the Kiwis to win this one. I think it'll be pretty close still. I'm going to go Kiwis 22 points, Tonga 14. Actually, let's give them a late try. Tonga 18. 22 to 18. I think the Kiwis get it done. I feel like it's going to be a comfortable 22 to 18, though. Late try for Tonga. Gets them close.
Yeah, mate, I've got to go the opposite way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that with JT back in the side, he's got to inspire these blokes to get up for this game. And I really want to see a Pacific Championships final that doesn't involve the Kiwis. It's going to be played at Combank as well. Like, that doesn't help the Kiwis. It doesn't help the international game. You know, like the Kiwis have been around forever. They've won some World Cups. They've won Pacific Championships before. I just don't want to see it. Like, I don't, no offense to the Kiwis. I don't care. And I don't think the Kiwis fans care too much.
Hey, they all came through in the comments after the game.
After the game. They care too much. They're very happy to say it after the game, not before the game. Anyway, I'm going to back Tonga to get a big win here. I'm going to go 32 to 10. And this Tongan team is going to blow the doors off this Kiwi side and get into that grand final and get, their shot at revenge against this Samoan team who battered them last week. Hopefully they take some of it out on the Kiwis as well. And these big boppers for the Kiwis that, have played really meaningful games and, they've won 4 premierships and things like that. It's not going to matter out there on the international stage when Tonga rev up. And this week I'm going to be wearing my red hat this week.
All right, man.
We're going to change hats. We're going to wear the red hat this week.
The Budweiser from the NFL Super Bowl.
Super Bowl
hangout. Mate, I'm with you there too. And I will say this too with the Kiwis who, because we love our Kiwi bros who there's a lot of Kiwis that watch the channel and play fantasy with us. I think you're like us in Australia. I hate to say it, but the Kiwis in Australia are just at a different level to everyone else and have been for a long time. So when we win, like I say this as an Australian, when we win, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, fair enough. Like I was watching Australia v England, right? And we rack up a big score, and I'm like, oh, I kind of feel bad for England. I hope they score a try here. Like,
they did.
It's very different for us. Whereas, for Tonga and for Samoa, like you talked about Taumalolo defecting, but it's been this meteoric rise into relevance. So I tend to root for them over. us even. Like, I'll root for Australia
Yeah.
whenever we play, but I'm not upset if we lose.
I was probably going to
And
echo
the Kiwis,
your
I root for them against the Kiwis. Even though I'm tipping the Kiwis here, I'll be rooting for Tonga, right? And unashamedly so, because I think it means more to them than it does to Kiwis fans. I'd rather a Warriors premiership, by the way. I think they deserve a comp. But
I agree. Yeah.
The international team, I'm kind of mad about.
Yeah, I think, and I'll maybe backtrack on my point just a little bit. I think the Kiwis care when they beat us in Australia.
Oh no, our matchup, we care about that. Yeah, 100%.
So I don't particularly think they care too much if they beat Samoa or they beat Tonga. They've always beaten Samoa, and Tonga have only beaten them twice out of, I think it's 8 tries. So yeah, I think the Kiwis care when they beat a team that they're not expected to beat, which is really just one team.
Now, mate, we're doing this in one video, so straight into it. Fiji, Bar TV, PNG, Kumuls. And we've merged this up because there's a decent chance these are both rematches next week. Sorry, not the other one, but this one is definitely going to be a rematch, I would expect. The other one, probably not. But so we'll talk about this one in more depth next week when we go into the rematch. But for this one, previous meetings, the Kumuls have the run of form there. So 22-10 against Fiji. Clunky game a couple of years ago. Then 32-12 the other time out. So the Kumuls definitely have the wood over Fiji. They've had a good run of games here as well. So when you look at, and it's switched over, by the way, in the visual there. So the left side is the Kumuls. Beat the Cook Islands. So beat them 40-28 last week. We'll talk about that game in a bit. Lost to the Kiwis. But you expect that when they're versing a Tier 1 nation. Beat the Cook Islands, beat Fiji. So really over a run of time, they're pretty undefeated in this tournament. Whereas for Fiji, it's really only the Kumuls they lose to. And they have beaten the Kumuls in the past as well. So I think a lot of people are saying the Kumuls are going to win this well. I think it's going to be a bit closer than people expect. And it sort of starts here in the back line. So Burgz, I'll throw to you. Feel free to give the Kumuls back line a readout, and we can start talking about this matchup.
Yeah, just one change from the back line. Maria, who I thought was fantastic last week, is going to maintain his spot at fullback. We've got Dudley Dotoy, absolute prolific try scorer from the Queensland Cup, from my Townsville Blackhawks. Scored 26 tries in 22 games this year. What a record that is. Looking forward to seeing him back up from a PM's 13 game that he had. Alex Johnston on the other wing with Nene McDonald and Zach Laybutt. I thought Zach Laybutt was quite good in their game against the Cook Islands last week. Voro and Lamb are the halves, and Voro scored a nice try, a little runaway try there for Gyro. But yeah, I thought the Kumuls were impressive last week.
Mate, didn't he look like Jerome Luai?
He did actually, yeah. He definitely did.
Yeah, that was trippy as. But Maria, I'll talk about him for a sec, because we talked about this in the preview. You know, Alex Johnson being at fullback, Nene McDonald. Like, they've got some guys who have played there before, and they made the brave call and stuck Maria back there. For him, stat line here: 1 try, 2 try assists, 2 line break assists. You got 1 line break there. He led the game in run meters, so nearly 200 run meters, 177 run meters for him. Pretty rapid play, the ball speed. Not that that's a stat anyone looks at. And, just an overall pretty solid game. Hey, play the ball speed. It matters, mate. It matters. As a Para fan, I look at it closely and use it to complain about referees. But for Maria, he was fantastic. And I felt like he really unlocked the edges as well. Like, he got a lot of, there were some easier opportunities he got on the edges running those sweet plays, but he nailed every single one. And he fed the right guys at the right times. And it's not all on him, but partially because of him. Every player from 1 to 7 in that backline for the Kumuls last week had either a try or a try assist. So they were just lethal across the board there.
Yeah, well, it all starts with the guy wearing the 7 jersey on his back, and as a guy we highlighted quite a lot in our previews for this Pacific Championships, and he could be the difference as to the PNG Kumuls winning this Pacific Championships, because it definitely won't be built on defense. Their defense was a little bit sloppy last week. But Lachlan Lamb,
tell me,
when you give this guy opportunity, he seems to never waste it. He was outstanding last week. I can't give enough praise to him. And again, like, are we wondering, like, is he wasting time in the Super League? Is he good enough to be a number 7 here in the NRL? I think so. I thought he was when he left, but geez, he's turned into a fantastic player.
Yeah, well, 2 try assists. Nearly had that 40-20 as well. It was very close to a couple of those. But they didn't need to kick much. Like, there were just so many points in this game. And defense was definitely not at a premium. So, yeah, he's going to need to be lethal. He's definitely going to need to be lethal in this game because they're going to need to outscore Fiji. And we'll jump across to Fiji's side here. So, at fullback, we've got Dream Buller stepping up 4 tries a couple of weeks ago. So, you definitely can't forget that one. On the wings, we have Taruva and Tonga. And by the way, let me know if I get a last name wrong, but I think I got that one right. In the centers, Ruck, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Ruck? And Valame. Someone let me know in the comments if I've gotten that one wrong. We do learn on the fly. And then Kurt Donahue and Brandon Wakeham in the halves there. So some NRL experience there in that halves combination. So a backline that I think can compete here, right? Definitely can compete. I think they lose a little bit. But personally, I think losing Derby is a bit of an L for the Kumuls in this game. I thought his speed really caused trouble last week, and I think it would again. So personally, I think they should have kept him in. But if he's, I haven't seen Totoy as much, right? You're hyped on Totoy, so, maybe that is the right call. And then we'll rip into the forward pack here too. So forward pack here, I'll let you go through. Give us that Kumuls forward pack, Burgz.
Yeah, we got Kapinias, and this week Valentine Richard comes into the side, and we got Jack DeBellin moving back to the lock position. Mm-hmm. And we have Reece Martin and Nixon Putt in the second row, and our boy Edwin Apape, who is clearly set for a few more minutes in the 9 position, or just a solid 80 minutes again. It looks like, but geez, wasn't he good last week, Edwin?
Mate, 100 meters plus. Had that early.
Yeah.
That was what I was looking for from him because I think he had about 63 meters at halftime. Just so dynamic. Had, I think it was 3 offloads. Missed a few tackles, but he was dynamic in attack. I'll shout out too, Jack DeBellin had some good moments, but that missed tackle early for the try, I'm not sure if you remember that, right in on the line. It was pretty simple. I felt like it was pretty simple play, and he just sort of fell off it. So as a Para fan, I was a bit worried about that one. But I really do think the Kumuls need to rediscover that physicality in defense because, you got no Justin Olam here, and I think maybe he's a bigger loss than we thought about in the lead up. In terms of him bringing the intensity, that leadership in defense, that line speed, even though he was at center, I didn't feel like they had that. Like I didn't feel like the Cook Islands were scared running the ball. And normally when I watch the Kumuls, the opposition is a bit frightened that someone's going to come out and absolutely kill them, right? Because you go back to, we talk about Olam, but we also talk about like Seguiaro sort of flying out and putting shots on. He was a small guy. Yeah, I just didn't see that as much for the Kumuls there. And I think if they're going to move to the next level and, really sort of start to push up the chain, that physicality is going to cause them problems if they can't sort of keep that in their identity. But on the other side of things, I think they're attacking a lot more finesse, and attack in their style. So they're adding a lot more of that, right? So if they can do that while maintaining the physicality on defense, I'm hyped for them. But I am a little bit worried about that, so I would love to see that back for the Kumuls this week.
Yeah, they've just turned into this slashing attacking side that's just got so much room to move the football, it seems. And their outside backs really benefited from that last week. I think there was quite a lot of tries to them, as you said. But yeah, again, going into this matchup against Fiji, I struggle to see outside of Jareem Buller where the win comes from Fiji, because I don't think Brandon Wakeham offered that much a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he was solid without being too phenomenal. Kitty and Kautonga was really good, I thought, for Fiji, and I love Caleb Navale. I was actually quite high on him. I was quite high on him going into last year. I think he actually featured in our Rookies to Watch video at the start of the season. I do it at the start of every season. Look out for that one at the start of next year, guys. I believe I had him playing a lot more NRL than he ended up playing, but I think with the changes at Manly, he should get more of a run next year. And I think he's kind of earned that position, to tell you the truth, to be on that bench fringe starting role for Manly if he can put in decent performances here.
Yeah, he was solid. He was massive in that game. So 50 tackles that game last time out, 100 meters plus as well. So he was a machine. I thought Kautonga was good. Tane Milne copped his usual sin bin. He leads the Super League in sin bins and offloads, though. So, I wish you put money on that. So he could have called that.
You know what? Dead set should, because he loves it. Is Tane Milne the dirtiest player you've ever seen play the game?
I think he's a lot of fun for this one though, because he brings a bit of heat. Like he makes it exciting here. You go back to the Kumuls backline, and all five of the back five had 100 meters plus in that game last time out. So it's going to be a battle here in attack because the Barty, they didn't have any troubles with meterage either. Like even you look in the back row, all three, Milne, Tonga, and Navale all eclipse that. So they're getting plenty of good ball. And we talk about that halves pairing for the Barty. It's not a flashy halves pairing, but they're guys who do know how to feed the weapons. And I look at these back row matchups, and Pat Martin versus Milne Tonga is pretty juicy, man. Even at the lock spot, I'd probably say advantage Fiji if I'm looking at this and being objective.
Wow, you're not backing your boy who's coming to Para next year.
I thought Navale outplayed him. I thought Navale really outplayed him in that first week. Week one.
Well, he was in the front row, so I mean, now he moves back to his natural position at lock.
Oh yeah. Yeah, look, he was fine. He was fine. The big one that I thought was great.
What are they going to do at Para next year? They've got about 5 locks. Who's going to play lock? Hopgood, Walker, Barlow's been pretty good at lock. DeBellin
Junior at lock would be nice. You know who's going to be good though, and where it sort of balances out again is Cooper Bai, right? So he had 150 meters last game out. He was an absolute machine in that game. Look, he tried a bit too much. He got excited, but I thought he came on and brought a bunch of heat. I don't think Fiji really have an answer to that off the bench. So that's where I think he's going to shape up as a really important part of the Kumuls' future in that forward pack.
Yeah, I think give him a couple more years. He'll definitely develop into one of those really standout international performers. Whether he cracks, first grade side here, or I think is he at the Titans at the moment? I think he might be.
He is.
Titans,
I think he might take Tino's spot. So
yeah, well, with Tino leaving, and they start fresh with Cooper Bai in the lock spot.
Let me give you some numbers here, Burgz, because 145 meters run off the bench, 31 tackles, 1 miss. Right?
Yeah.
In a game where they didn't defend well, very quick play the ball speed as well. One of the quickest in the forward pack.
That's the one thing that I'm noticing with a lot of these younger locks coming through the game. Now they're starting to, because of the new era that has been coached into them, is to play the ball as quick as possible. And they're not fighting for every inch. I think that's why guys like David Clemmer have kind of faded out of the league. They try to fight for every, penalty or inch for an extra 30 centimeters of run meters. So it's a lot of that has been coached out of the game with the rise of teams like Penrith, who just hit, drop, quick play the ball, and then they've got the other team on the back foot. It's a lot like touch football. When you get a quick dump, roll straight off the back of that and try and attack with a team pedaling away from you rather than having time to come at you and really squash your space. So,
when you have a Parpe,
definitely in that mold.
He's giving him shots, man. Every one of those. And Cooper Bai played about 60 minutes last week too, so he played more than most of the starters in the middle forward rotation. So,
I think if the guy's going well, you got to keep him in there.
Yeah, he'll be big this week. But let's rip through here because we got some tips to do here. So Kumuls v Barty. I'm still undecided. I've just been going back and forth throughout the viewing of this, and it's just a question of Dream Buller. Can he replicate what he did last time in my head? So I'll let you go first with your tip. If you've got anyone you think will be a standout as well, otherwise just give us a score and a winner.
Yeah, I think it hinges on, again, the best overall half that's in both of these teams, and that is Lachlan Lamb. I think he is the best player in terms of who's going to be in that ball controlling position to be able to have the most effect on this game. He's the guy who, with the Cook Islands, when it comes to Fiji, they're not going to come up against a guy who's going to be able to kick to corners, go for 40-20s. I think Dream Buller is probably not going to have as much opportunity as he did coming off kick returns as he did, a couple of weeks ago. And I just really think that this Kumuls side are more well-rounded, more well-drilled. And I don't want to say that because they're probably going to be the favourites this week, but I just think I'm going to look at this as maybe a learning experience for Fiji. What can they gain out of losing this game that they can then take into the final next week and maybe make it closer, maybe get a win But I just see PNG, just with the attack that they have, and with Fiji's defense not being phenomenal either. I just see this game being, once again, quite high scoring and Fiji just running away with it in the end.
You mean the Kumuls?
Yeah, Kumuls. I do mean the Kumuls, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth too, and I've really sort of done my thinking while we've been talking here. I think if the Bharti had one more of their premier sort of playmakers, like if Coruscant in particular was playing, that'd be a big one. I'd tip him in this game because I think the Kumuls were a little bit too keen to lean on attack last week, and I think they're going to need a bit of a wake-up call in this one. But the way I see it going, I still just kind of back them. Like, my prediction here is Fiji is going to be winning at the 75-minute mark, and the Kumuls will win the game. So it's going to be one of those really, I just think, like, one of the speedsters, they've got a bunch of guys who can score from the back, but one of those speedsters, maybe Alex Johnson, really classy option. But, like, someone's going to score a try, from a bit of range to win the game for the Kumuls. That's how I see this one going. So, but I do think Fiji will be respectable, and I think they'll put up a big fight, and I think people will feel like they deserve to win. But I think the Kumuls are going to get away with this one. So I'm going to go again. It's sort of similar score lines, right? But I'm going to go 30-26. I think down 26-24 before that try in the 77th minute, and then it finishes up with that scoreline. And I'll take Alex Johnson with a hat trick in this one. I'm just thinking he really, really dominates.
Just avoiding that right-hand side of the field. You don't like Dudley Dotoy, mate. You don't like the inclusion.
I'm keen to see him play, man, but I can't comment on him. I haven't really seen him play, so I'm not going to pretend. Like, he's your boy.
Townsville Blackhawks, mate. He was phenomenal this year. He scored, I think it's in 11 games last year, he scored 9 tries. Like, he's a prolific try scorer. Like, he's got a great strike rate. I don't know. I just think this PNG side, they keep it close for a bit, and then towards the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, they score maybe 3 tries and really blow it out. So I'm thinking like it's 20-18, pretty close to the 65-minute mark, and by the end it'll be 42-18, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Big Kumuls win. Now we got one more thing to cover here. And it wasn't really on the run sheet, but you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
People can't do it.
Australia. Yeah, I didn't give any planning, mate. Didn't give any time. Australia v England. Right, it's 26-6 there. It was 26-0 close to the end as well. I've just got this on the sheet here, but I want to throw a few stats in because Australia, I thought they just dominated this game. And I stayed up for this one, watched it. I was on the back end of a wedding, actually. Came home at 1 a.m., exactly in the state that you would expect me in after a wedding.
To watch
and
this
then I was
game.
like, oh, sweet, Australia's on. And the misso was like, why aren't we going to bed? I'm like, nah, this is too good. But for Australia, just relentless. Like run the runs, run meters, post contact meters, 9 line breaks to 3. Tackle breaks pretty even, but the average set distance 33 versus 47 for them. Kick meter returns were massive. If you go through some of the individual stats here for Australia, God, I'm getting sick of every commentator just talking about Reece Walsh nonstop, but he's earning it. He's earning it right now, and he was massive in this game too. But again, you go through the meters here, right? Reece Walsh, nearly 250 meters there. Nolani Dawase, 223. You've then got, Munster, Nathan Cleary, both around that 100-meter mark. In the forward pack here, big Gus Crichton, Hudson Young on the edges, got a bunch of ball, and Gussie Crichton scored 2 tries in that game too.
He did,
so,
yeah.
He was looking quick and classy. Whereas England, I don't know. Wellesby obviously has a lot of hype, right? But I felt like for a team that had AJ Brimson in reserve, he looked a yard slow compared to Brimson. Defensively,
the team list actually came out and had John Bateman listed at fullback. So
it's in alphabetical order.
That was very interesting.
But
Wellesby. A lot of people say he's suited to the fullback role. I think he's a 5'8", personally. Herbie Farnworth has been thrown around in terms of fullback role, but I like Herbie being on that edge because he's such a dominant ball runner. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he can be a dominant ball runner at fullback. I think it really takes out, having a strike weapon in the red zone, like Herbie can do it from anywhere, not just the red zone. But I just think I don't know how you can not have AJ Brimson in this team. Like, I might be a little bit NRL bias here, and maybe some Super League guys.
Oh,
can
we
weigh in
are.
on this.
We are 100%. Yeah,
They want to watch it, but AJ Brimson, in my opinion, is always going to be a better option than Jack Wellesby, or Jake Wardle, or anyone else that they have in that back seven. And I said back seven. Like, he can play 5'8", he can play center, put him on the wing. I'll put him at fullback. I don't care. But he's always going to be a better option than those guys. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think he's a beast, man. He's just so physical, so quick, so explosive. Whereas Wellesby looked a bit slow to me. So, maybe it was an off day for Wellesby, by the way. Like, I haven't watched enough of him in the Super League. Like, he's very highly rated over there, but 67 run meters in this game. Again, you got to throw the stats in there, and that's just not good enough for a fullback. I'll shout out too here the forward pack, because we talked about Gus Crichton, pumping England in this game. But look at the run meters here for the forward pack for England. So you've got, Harvard, Clark, Lees, Bateman, Pierce-Paul, Knowles, 37 meters, 23 meters, 36 meters, 46. Like, these are feeble, absolutely feeble numbers. I thought Pierce-Paul looked good, but he didn't get heaps of quality ball. I thought he was creating a bit, though, when he did get the ball. But
what he does,
Pierce-Paul, it's tough because you watch Pierce-Paul, right? And I've only seen him at Newcastle and for England.
Really good player.
I keep seeing him in scenarios where it's like, oh, he's in a hopeless attack, and he looks like he's creating a bit. I'm keen to see him at the Tigers next year, who are a bit more capable on offense than anything we've seen him in so far. So, I think Pierce-Paul looked good. Like, the signs were good, but the rest of the pack just wasn't there, man.
Getting like 70 meters out of your starting front rowers combined is just pathetic. Like, I think, and Darryl Clark, like, bless him, he's a very
bless him
seasoned. He's a very seasoned player. So he's a veteran of the game. His best running days at hooker are probably behind him at this stage. But I don't really see the punch. And when you look at their 5'8" and halfback having 100 meters plus and having basically their 5'8" had the most runs, Johnstone. And followed closely by George Williams.
Sorry, Williams and Lewis, mate. But they were relentless. And the bench here, 24 meters, 63 meters, 31 meters, 51 meters. Like, there's not a single shining light in this. Like, the back line was solid. They did their jobs, but
I actually think the scoreline does a real disservice to how dominant Australia actually were, because they only won by 20, but it really should have been 40. And I think a lot of people were harping on about the referee. And I mean, I watched a mini version of this game. I kind of skimmed through it because to watch a few highlights and things like that. And a lot of people had problems with the refereeing. I believe Grant Atkins is actually refereeing the second game as well. So he'll be going over there, the grand final ref from the NRL season. So whether we get a very similar game with maybe Australia dominating more, I think that might be the case.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And like we talked about the refereeing, right? They talked a lot about play the ball speed over there. You look at this, like 3.46 seconds per play the ball for England versus 4.12 for Australia, right? So we dominated in a game where we didn't really win the ruck at all because we were playing England rules, right? Which is fine. I'm happy for them to take whatever advantage they need to keep the game within 50. Like, that's. Yeah. I hope we have some Poms watching, by the way. I love a bit of banter with Pommies, but I doubt it, man. I doubt it. Like, but no, I think we're just going to pound through here and win 3-0. I don't see England sort of measuring up, and I'm happy for that to be edited into a TikTok if they do come back and win the series. But until then, I think it's Australia time, man. Yeah, and the team for Australia is pretty similar for this next game as well. Like, it's obviously no Isaiah Yeo in this next game.
They can throw it around. They can throw it around and change it. Throw it around, change it. I don't really care. Put in whoever. Like, we'll win this game. We're going to win this Ashes, and then the real Ashes when Australia beat England in the cricket later this year as well. So, I mean, this is a shot at the Poms.
It's funny too, man. I saw a video on Instagram. This guy, some Pommy, with a rugby league TikTok, sort of channel. He was talking, yeah, he obviously doesn't watch heaps of NRL, but he was going on like, Nathan Cleary hasn't been in great form. The Panthers weren't that good this year. He wasn't great in Origin, so I don't know if he's going to be able to stand up to England. It's like, yeah, you're trying to put England at the same level as second round of NRL finals and Origin. Probably not at that level, guys.
They were trying to get former Tonga Tiger Bevan French to play for them as well. So
mate, that would have been wild. It's crazy too for them. Like, where is this? Like, there was I can't find it now, but there was the form run because they have had a good run. Other than playing Australia, like they pound Tonga and Samoa basically every time. And that's one thing I can't really understand. Like, how are they so comfortable against those sides? But then I feel like Samoa and Tonga match up better against Australia.
I think those sides are getting much better. And I don't think that dominance will last much longer. I feel like the English game has... It's good quality, but it just isn't top quality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then that might be a shot across the bow, but I mean, the proof's in the pudding when you look at stuff like this. I would argue that this is probably one of the weaker Kangaroos teams we've had in a while, based on us not being able to put in those Pacific Islander players because they've chosen to play for their home nations. Or their heritage nations. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys in there that could still pull out from his Kangaroos team as well. Like, you've got Tino, who's probably a bit on the fence at this stage. I don't expect him to actually be playing for Australia too much longer.
I mean, he just wanted to win after playing for the Titans all year. So,
I mean, there's dudes in there that could still pull out, and make this Kangaroos team really come back towards the pack. And so it'd be unprecedented, something that we've never seen before, and something that I really want to see. But I just don't see England making that gap up either, because they've sort of been in the same position for a longer time. And I would argue that their overall product or team used to be better when they could combine players from Great Britain, because we used to play Great Britain in these games, and they used to be able to combine players from all nations. So, and those actually produce some very tight, close games. But in this format, and in this day and age, I just don't see it working as well as it possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely prefer that combination. But you look back, because like Sam Burgess back in the day, all the Burgess brothers, Sam Burgess, George Burgess, James Graham around that time as well. Guys like Gareth Ellis back in the day, like they had some real premier rugby, like NRL forwards in that England side, and they're just sort of lacking that. Like Victor Radley's obviously not playing; he's out for a 10-game suspension, which the Roosters have calculatedly put during the off season. So well done, Roosters, on that one. But then Morgan Smithies isn't playing either. Was Smithies not selected, or is
he has been? He's just not in the team.
Okay, well,
I feel like they have better options. This is my point. I think there's a certain air of English arrogance that has stopped guys like AJ Brimson from playing, or Morgan Smithies not being available, who play in the NRL. Like, I mean, you'd surely go to the guys who play in the top rated competition. But I mean, I'm not.
Maybe for them, they're just trying to support the local talent.
Yeah, I would too.
Do a bit of that. Bring those guys through, and watching them rack up their 35 meters is.
But then when they lose 3-0, when they lose the series 3-0, I think they look like idiots.
So next game, predictions wise, do you think it's a bigger Australia blowout? Do you think England bounce back and make it a series? What
I don't think England changed much. I feel like they might think that this game just got away from them a little bit, and they stats wise matched up with Australia quite well. When you actually watch the eye test of it really didn't look like that. And I think Australia take a 2-0 lead, and that's when England make changes. And then the third game is much closer. But I also think that the Kangaroos could also make changes and just play guys like Moses and Dearden could start.
So this game, they haven't done that. I've seen the team.
Yeah.
They kept it very, very similar. Yeah.
No, England or the Kangaroos?
Australia.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, like, if they were to win this game again, the Kangaroos. I think they could take some liberties in game 3 and just
they should. They should, because
I
a lot of those guys
too.
they're replacing are a bit older, right? So Munster's not going to be there forever.
Yep. So I see the Kangaroos winning by more in game 2, maybe 32-10. I think maybe England score a couple more tries, but I don't know if they would have learnt anything. One thing I do want to highlight is the crowd at Wembley, 60,000 people. It's a fair shake for an international game. I think if you were to put this game on at Olympic Park, do you reckon they'd get 60,000 people to it?
Oh, I think you'd have to put it closer to Bondi if you want the Poms to travel to it, right? Maybe put it at the SFS. But I think we'd get 30,000, maybe. But I think there'd be people excited to see Australia play. I think put it in the city. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a few more tries for England. I think they score first. I think that'll be a bit of a win for them, because in this game, they didn't really score a meaningful try. Like, the try they scored was garbage time. Doesn't really count. I think this next game, they'll score first, and they'll keep it close for as long as they can. Last game out, they had a lot of moments where they created half opportunities, because they do have a bit of creativity in that spine. But they just didn't have the pace to convert those opportunities or the power to beat one tackle or whatever it is. Whereas we saw like Gus Crichton go through, and he was able to just run around the fullback. He's a 30-year-old back
around the fullback. He just kind of ran adjacent to the fullback, and
he backed into the in goal. But so I think England will put up a fight at the start, and I think that'll really fire Australia up. And I think it's going to be like a 52-14 kind of scoreline here, where England are competitive at about 25-minute mark, and then we see the dragon awake for Australia, and they go crazy. So that's my prediction for this one. But look, Burgz, we've talked a bunch of internationals. Bit of a different video this week. One big video for everything. Next week we'll talk about, I guess, finals. Hopefully this one's a decider. I'm not hopeful, but we'll try, and then hopefully we get a good matchup.
Don't see it.
The other ones.
Like you said, don't see it. But if it happens, good for the international game.
Right. Cheers for jumping on there, Burgz, and everyone. Drop your tips below. If you're still here at the 54-minute mark, you're dedicated. You're dedicated. So thanks for watching along. Appreciate you, Burgz. Appreciate you guys watching. See you, everyone.